Welcome back to the 1-0 podcast. I'm Lexi Linderman.
I'm Will Horseman.
And I'm Lyle Allenstein.
I'm sure all of you watching are super excited to not have to watch Penn State football this weekend, but, for us, we are here every week with more coverage for you guys. Obviously, it's been an off week, but, there's still been some things going on first. Let's just look back at Iowa for a little bit. What were your guys' kind of takeaways from that?
Yeah, we got to see our first look at Ethan Grunkmeyer as a starting quarterback. The stats probably weren't that great, but I'd say overall it's I don't know how much else you can ask out of that, because Ethan Grunkmeyer, he was thrown into the fire. Iowa's known as one of the toughest environments in all of college football, and I'm not sure if you can realistically expect much more out of him. He kind of missed some throws. He had that one costly pick that set up Iowa in the red zone, but I'm not sure how much you can really blame that loss on Grunk. And even Terry Smith said after game that he thought Grunk played solidly. And then, on defense, the linebacker situation is just bad.
It's a situation for sure.
It's a situation for sure, yes. Because Dom DeLuca, I kind of feel bad for him because he's just not supposed to be a starter in this defense, but it's he kind of has to be, obviously, with Rojas out. But it really, with DeLuca still playing and getting all these snaps that he does, it really just goes to show just how bad the depth is. Because it's really just surprising how Keon Wiley, Alex Tash, Cam Smith, none of those guys can really get many reps behind DeLuca, even though he's kind of losing Penn State some of these games. But yeah, and then wide receivers, it was good to see Kobe Howard get some reps in there. I saw a Penn State wide receiver get a separation, so that's the first time in a while I've seen something like that.
That's a great take.
But yeah, I think I'm not sure how you don't play Kobe Howard moving forward, or Tysier Denmark, because it's at this point it's why keep playing the guys like Liam Clifford, even I would even say Kyron Hudson, because his production's kind of fallen off recently, and it's just build for the future, give those younger guys some tread and some more experience, and it's they need to see the field moving forward.
And they will, because Terry Smith said after practice on Wednesday that he expects them to have an increased role. But you hit on Grunkmeyer. I want to talk about the other first-timer in a big position, Terry Smith. First game for him as interim head coach in place of James Franklin. Impossible situation to walk into, as we've established in various forms of content since this move happened. But I think he did a great job. I think the guys rallied behind him. It was an impossible situation. And, Penn State should have won the game, believe it or not. And he put the team in a good position to succeed. Obviously, mixed around with that personnel a little bit. You're walking into a tough environment, but he handled it well. And he spoke post-game. I thought he was we're getting a different perspective with Terry Smith than when we got with James Franklin. He's upfront, telling it how it is. You don't need to read between the lines like Franklin did. So that was my initial takeaway. I think that guys really, truly are playing for Terry Smith, and he wants to turn this thing around given the situation. He talked on Wednesday saying how he's finally getting 1 week into the, GM, whatever, CEO, big boss, however you want to call it, the role of being a head coach at a program like Penn State. He is getting the hang of all the things that come with outside of the X's and O's. So that's good moving forward, considering the situation that this team is in. You want a guy that you're going to rally behind and is invested in. But you talked about the linebackers. I want to talk about the fact that Jim Knowles has made this defense not produce at the level that it's supposed to be. They're guys that are out of position. They're not adjusting to the scheme. Terry Smith talked about on Wednesday that their guys are taking a while to figure out the scheme. And it's just you look, hindsight's 20/20 here. You look back at the hire where Penn State's going all in, bringing him from Ohio State, $3.1 million contract. You could still make the argument he's one of, if that, the not best defensive mind in college football, at the defensive coordinator spot. But but you look at it now, considering the fallout of this season that's spiraling, why are you making the move to bring in a guy whose defense is expected to take a few seasons to put it together when the expectation is that you're competing for a national championship? Because it's not like you look at all the Penn State defensive coordinators in the past, no matter how long they've been here. You had Tom Allen last year, Manny Diaz, Brent Pry. All defenses that have ranged between the top 3 to 10 in various overall statistics across various metrics. And it's not like the defenses, despite James Franklin having an offensive background as a quarterback, as a wide receivers coach, as an offensive coordinator, during his time at Penn State, his defenses have just been better than his offense. It's plain and simple. And the fact that you're watching a fall off in a season that has fallen off, that in a season that was supposed to be great, and you look at the last decade, it was supposed to build up into this point. I just think that's just something that's noteworthy. Like, obviously, it doesn't matter now, but I think the Iowa game was a prime example of just you let Mark Gronowski run all over you. How are you not adjusting to stopping the quarterback run after Nico Amalevo ran over you 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, and his knee wasn't even 100%.
It's just things like that. That's where I stand on the Iowa game. I love Iowa City and Kinnick Stadium. I thought the Wave was a great tradition. Just things, if you want my honest thoughts on that outside of football, I thought it was great. That's where I stand on the game, though.
Yeah, I think the Jim Knowles stuff is really interesting to me because I think everyone kind of thought when Penn State hired him, like, oh, like, this talent's good enough where, like, the scheme is going to be just fine. Like, they'll pick up the scheme. They're veteran guys, whatever. And I think it's just so interesting to me that they literally held Oregon to 17 points in 4 quarters and then just completely fell off a cliff. Like, the only thing that I see that coincides with that is Tony Ross's injury. And I think when you look back,
it's hard to blame it on one guy.
No, I'm not blaming it on one guy, but I do think that the linebackers are so important in Jim Knowles' scheme, and you lose the best. Well, I guess Amari Campbell, Tony Ross, I would put on like the same level, but you you pretty much lose your best one, and then you fill it in with a guy who's not, like Will said, not really supposed to be in that starting role. Dom DeLuca's obviously had a great story here at Penn State, a great special teams guy. He's not supposed to be that starting linebacker, and he was doing great in that third linebacker role before Tony Ross got hurt. It's just not where he's supposed to be, and I think it's just a liability for this defense because of how much stress Jim Knowles' defense puts on these linebackers. And Tony Ross and Amari Campbell can handle that because they're fast, they're athletic, they read the field well. But Dom DeLuca is just kind of not that. You know, he's not really tackling well. He just kind of bounces off guys like all the time. So I think that's one reason the defense is really struggling. But then also, I want to go back to Ethan Grunkemeyer. I think he had a pretty good performance, but also there was a lot left on the table. Annie Kolnicki said yesterday that he felt Grunk left meat on the bone. I do think you could tell it was Grunk's first start. I think you could tell that this was his first time starting. I mean, it's obviously a really tough environment. He was thrown to fire, like we said, but you know, he just kind of seemed to like get really freaked out in the pocket. Like he would have a pocket, but then like one guy would get like kind of close to him and he immediately is like off running. And I think that that's just something that's going to take time for him to get comfortable, trust his offensive line, things like that. So I think going forward, we can expect some better things from Grunk. I don't know if we're going to see it these next 2 weeks against the number 1 and 2 teams in the country, but I think down the line there's going to be flashes. Is he going to be Penn State's quarterback next year? I have no idea. It depends who they hire as head coach, but I think that it was something to build on for Grunk, and I think that that's the most important thing. And I do think Penn State should have won that game, kind of like we said, and that falls on the defense. That falls on letting Mike Gronowski run for 67 yards and let Iowa score a touchdown in 2 plays when you're up. So, I don't know. But I do kind of want to transition away from Iowa. We have our Rapid Reacts up on YouTube as well if you want to see some of that. But like I said, Annie Kolnicki talked to the media yesterday. It was the first time we had heard from him since the preseason, since before all of this happened. Penn State's offense is ranked 99th in the country right now. I said preseason it was going to be top 3, aging really horribly, and so I'll take the blame for that one. But I just kind of want to ask you guys, what were your takeaways from Annie Kolnicki's Zoom yesterday?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that he was asked about why the offense has taken a drastic step backwards from last year, considering even elevated weapons, if you want to make the argument, at least heading into the preseason with the transfer wide receiver additions, 2 1,000-yard running backs coming back, 4 of the 5 starters in the offensive line, and a tight end room that's produced in a third-year starter. But so the fact you can't put it all together, it's like, oh, he was asked. He's like, I don't know. And, you know, it's just, the fact you can't put your finger on it, I just think speaks volumes of the fact that, A, the unit is not producing, but it's the fact that he just can't say anything at all as far as why the offense looks horrendous. We were at practice on Tuesday for the first time since all of us have been on the beat, Lexi and I last year, Will this year. The offense was inside Huluba Hall while we were at practice because they were running new installs. I don't really know X's and O's as much as most people, but the fact that you're making an install at this point of the season, I think, is incredibly concerning. If you're going to try to bring a spark, I don't know if that's it, but. So I just think some of his comments were just like he ran around the issue because he didn't know the issue. I wrote about how he couldn't wrap his head around it on psucollegian.com. Lexi wrote about the schematic things as to why the offense can't perform. But it's just like I think he's gone no matter what, and I think you kind of can see that on his face, right? Like this is obviously his unit is not meeting expectations whatsoever. Nick Singleton, he talked about how he's got to get him going more, which has been the conversation all season. Meanwhile, why are you trying to get him going more when you saw the performance that Katron Allen just put up this weekend against Iowa? I think again, tough position for him to be in with Mourar coming in. Obviously, leading up to this point with Drew, it's not like the offense performed either. Hopefully they get something going for his sake with Tysier Denmark and Kobe Howard, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's what the new install really was. I don't know. You go into the season, you had that continuity with year 2 from last year, and that's why everyone was so excited about this offense. And now they are calling for his job after last season, talking about how he was this big splashy hire that panned out.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of days, I've been just really trying to think like what the offense was doing inside Haluba Hall when it was closed off to the media.
Here we go.
I mean, maybe they were trying to get some new like run blocking stuff to get Nick Singleton some more like gaps for running lanes, something like that. Maybe they're trying to get some plays for Kobe and Tysier. But I also think that there's a non-zero chance that Colton Nicky was working on some plays that involves 3 quarterbacks on the field at once, considering how much he loves to run those 2 quarterback sets.
Which he said will be involved moving forward.
Yes, so. Which is that's just annoying for Penn State, because I just don't see, because my issue with that is like with Grunk obviously making his first start, it's like why take him out of rhythm during the game and putting Smolik in, and when also. Right now, Penn State's only healthy quarterbacks, at least entering the Iowa game, was Grunk and Smolik and Jack Lambert. But it's there is not a whole lot of depth in that room right now. So putting like a second quarterback in with Smolik and making him do like a lot of option runs, a lot of just runs on his own. It's like obviously he got hurt, and now it's like right now there's a decent chance Beckham Kritza could see some playing time this season.
Who just got healthy. As if Smolik's not good to go, he's now the backup quarterback. And it's just not, the depth in that room is just not good enough to run these 2 QB sets. I didn't like it when he did it last year with Drew and Bo, because it's just like gets Haller out of rhythm. I have yet to see it really work on a consistent basis, so I don't know why he's trying to do it with Grunk and Smolik. Do you think Jackson Smolik is the same quality of runner as Bo Prabula?
No, he's not. He's just not as good of a runner, and it's just like it's just why, like, because I'm a firm believer that it's like if you're a play caller, just give the ball to your best players. And it's just, so in other words, it's like give Katron Allen the 30 carries he did, or 28 carries, but he really should have had 29 carries because he should have gotten the ball on that 3rd and 5 play, not Nick Singleton. But I can kind of get what he was trying to go for there, because I'm assuming they were thinking like, okay, we got 2 downs to pick up 5 yards. Hand the ball off, that should pick up a couple yards, and go for it on 4th down. But if you're going to hand it off on 3rd down, just give it to Katron, who's averaging like 6 yards a carry, who should pick up that 1st down if based on what he's producing so far this season. But yeah, it's like just give the ball to your best players, which also means put Kobe Howard and Tysier Denmark on the field. And I feel because if he does that, then I feel like can be less criticism, because it's like if you're at least giving the ball to your best players, that's never a bad option.
Yeah, I also think the running stuff you mentioned, because you said everyone last year was upset when he would take Drew out for Bo, but at least Bo like provided something on the ground. Like Jackson Smolik, why? Like
the first 2 plays Jackson Smolik provided.
He ended up with 0. Oh no, wait. He ended up with 4 carries for 3 rushing yards. Like that. Why are you trying to do a 2 quarterback system with that? And then
from Iowa.
And then it also makes me think that never happened when Drew was a starting quarterback the first 6 games. So like, why all of a sudden you have a young starting quarterback who has literally started his first game last weekend, and you all of a sudden are like, let's do 2 quarterbacks. Like, it's like, do you have no trust in Grunk? Like, I don't know what the deal is, but I just think it is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And he, like you said, Lyle, he basically said he doesn't know why the offense is struggling. As the offensive coordinator who calls, from what it seems like, he called pretty much, I think, every single play last weekend, because we know James sometimes gets a little involved. He was gone. Terry Smith has no experience calling offensive plays. It was 100% all Andy Kotelnicki. And the offense, once again, struggles at times. And I think just saying, I don't know, is kind of like a crazy thing to say. And I also think it's just interesting that James Franklin also went on game day and said he doesn't know why Penn State fell off a cliff. So it's like, I just don't think anyone in the program has actually grasped or understands what actually like happened to this team. Like, I don't think anyone knows. And I think that that's a problem. And they still have 5 games to play. Yes, 5 games to play. So I don't know. Someone's got to get something worked out if they even want to like make a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's just in shock in a way because like
Gotta move on.
you got to move on. But it's like September 27th, they almost beat Oregon, and then 15 days later, James Franklin is fired, and now it's obviously lose to Iowa. They're in jeopardy to have like one of their worst like losing streaks of all time. I was looking at the other day. If they lose to both Ohio State and Indiana, it's their first time losing 6 in a row since 2004. If they lose to Michigan State as well, to Indiana and Ohio State, it would be their first 7-game losing streak since 1931.
Jeez,
and
I
then
remember that one too.
and then if they lose 8 in a row, that would be the longest losing streak in program history. So
Wow.
this is just a immense fall off that just happened so quickly. I feel like just everyone, myself included, and apparently the team too, just everyone's just in shock.
I
Yeah.
think the thing with you saying that the fall off just happened so quickly is just really like it's a great point because you talk about the last decade it took to get to this point. The gradual getting the guys that fit the team, making sure you build that culture, getting that alignment with the university, getting all the money it takes with this new era to compete in college football, having that last 10 years just build up to this year, and then have it all crash. It's such a quick amount of time. It's just like you can't wrap your head around it. I'm very tuned in for this documentary that comes out 30, 40 years from now on the great fall off of the Penn State 2025 Nittany Lions football program. Because it's just like, because the thing that's been established in this conversation that we've heard from Andy Cole, Nicky not being able to swing on offense, James Franklin going on game days, no one can wrap their head around it. And it's just as simple as that. The season is plummeted. It's going to be, obviously the football itself is going to be pretty slow over the next month. But everything that comes after that, it's just no one really truly knows what happens next, and it's all because of how the season shaped up.
I mean, this could be it could be a while until Penn State finally gets back to like national relevancy. I mean, if we remember 1999, all those championship expectations, then that kind of fell off, and then the dark ages of the early 2000s happened. So something similar could happen here. I mean, I'm not sure who's really expecting much out of Penn State in 2026 at the moment, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I do kind of want to go back to Andy Kolnicki for a second because, like we said, he's probably gone after this year, and like this is just really off topic now at this point, but I just keep thinking about it. Like, you bring in the 3 transfer wide receivers, and to me, Trevor Pena was the most versatile of them all. Like, he is a guy that had 941 yards at Syracuse last year. I know they threw the ball the most out of any team in college football, but like, he's a guy that you can scheme stuff for, and it just feels like Andy Kolnicki has schemed absolutely nothing for him except jet sweeps.
He probably doesn't know.
It was one of those things, especially in the Oregon game, that I just like could not understand. Where like you like let Drew just throw to him 5 yards down the field. Like, he is talented enough that he can at least probably get like 2-3 yards of yak, and then you're in a good spot. Like, I don't know. It was just. That's one of the things where I just like am like, what does Andy Kolnicki like actually do? Like, does he just think that like Nick Singleton is going to save him? Because Nick Singleton, let's be honest, like sucks at this point. Like, he doesn't look good at football anymore. And I think Kolnicki said they need to get him the ball in space, which like I agree with. He's very fast. He's very athletic. There's plays that he's made this season that I don't think Katron Allen could have made, but. Like, I don't know. There's just so many decisions that I'm just like, what is going on? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And like, I know like. We kind of saw that last year, too, like the Ohio State from the goal line.
Oh,
the same play 3 straight times, and on 4th down, you change it up. It's like there's things like that where
and
it's
then
just
you saw
like.
Tyler Warren scored twice from 1 yard out the next week.
Against Washington.
Washington.
Yeah, so.
That's why I teed you up there.
Yeah, and so, like, it's just like there's been decisions and like across his 2 years here that have just been so baffling that it's just like so hard to even like comprehend. And like maybe it's just time Penn State stops hiring offensive coordinators from the Big 12. They're 0 for 2 the past 2 times. Like, just pack it up, find someone else. But anyway, let's go back to what you guys are talking about and what happened to this team. We've kind of like flirted around it, but I just kind of want your guys' take. Like, what do you think went wrong inside the last building at practice? Like, what do you think happened to have this happen?
Asking us what went wrong after we just said we don't know is quite a spot to be in here. I'll start with the fact that there is no Drew Aller has some mental issues he's got to work out. Same with Nick Singleton. If we want to point to the offense, those guys were in their own heads this year. I think that led to some pitfalls. I think you look at James Franklin not ever being able to win the big game. Will talked about earlier the linebacker play. I think the big one for me, though, when I look at the players on the field, is that a lot of these guys that came back that are seniors or upperclassmen that played a key role on that Orange Bowl team last year, they were highly regarded as a big piece as to why this team could be a national championship contender, right? You look at guys like Denai, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Zane Durant, to name a few. But outside of Katron Allen and Zakiti Wheatley, all these guys have either kept their draft stock the same or their draft stock has fallen, I think. And I think that is, to an extent, a reason why the play on the field hasn't matched up to what it's been last year. Now, there's a caveat that I've kind of been thinking about recently, which I don't know really how much it's actually true, but Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren were generational talents on both sides of the ball last year, and they were the focal point of, opposing teams' offenses and defenses, right? And they masked some of the attention that some of these other guys had. So you just take away from that, and it's just like, get rid of those two guys, attention. My prime example here, right? No Abdul Carter, you look at Denai. Denai was projected to be a first-round pick this season. He looked like the part against the non-conference teams. Aside from blocking some punts, right? Where has he been? Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be that freak athlete off the edge, first-round pick that is going to take on those double teams, but he just hasn't produced. Zane Durant, he's a guy that doesn't really show up in the stat sheet, but he was so highly regarded as a preseason All-American. I can't even make his presence felt at this point. Mm-hmm. I think little things like that are just the tipping point as to why this team hasn't performed. I think James Franklin also, if you're going to go off the field stuff, is exhausted. I think you could see, you look just years removed, the energy that he brought to this program. I don't really think you truly saw that anymore. I'm not going to go as far to say he lost the locker room, but it just felt a way that the vibe in the Lash building was just completely different. James Franklin is never losing to UCLA or Northwestern in the past. Happened on consecutive weeks. I think that's all that really you need to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like the Oregon loss kind of just broke them, because I do kind of feel with like the national championship like expectations. I think I feel like they kind of thought that like everything would have just been given to them in a way, but it's like the Oregon loss kind of just breaks them, and then they go out west, and yeah, UCLA happens, and then Northwestern happens, and then Iowa. I mean, it's kind of tough to really say because like a whole new team basically, but like, yeah, it's like I've said before, it's just shockingly how fast all this happened. But it's like Lau said, like with Tyler Warren, it's like the Penn State, they don't really have production out of the receivers, but last year they at least had Tyler Warren. This year, Luke Reynolds is not having the breakout some people thought he would have. Quite frankly, it's probably Andrew Apelier. He's the best tight end Penn State has right now.
And he's tight end 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they just don't have like kind of that go-to guy in the passing game that can pick up like some chunk gains and just spark the offense and just really just put the offense on their back. And same thing like defense. It's like they just don't have like those generational talents that can kind of save them or make just momentum tilting plays and help win these games. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you mentioned underperformance, Lyle. I think you honestly look across the board, and like besides Katron Allen, everyone is underperforming. Like AJ Harris was benched against Northwestern because he let up a touchdown. Like, and he was supposed to be, their first round draft pick as a defensive back. Like, there's just so many areas you can look, and like I especially look, like you said, Lyle, Denai and Zane Durant. I just am not seeing their presence felt quite literally anywhere. Denai Descent was like, oh, I'm going to be the best defensive end in college football. Well, you're not. And it's just like, unfortunately, like he is just proving that this season. But yeah, it's just a complete meltdown on all regards. Like, there's so many things you can look at. We'll never truly know because they don't even know. But yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see, where it goes from here, where Terry Smith takes this team. But, it's just been a complete disaster. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode of the Wanna Know podcast. For more football coverage, go to psucollegian.com, hit that football tab. We've got a lot of great content for you there. And also subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find that at psucollegian.com. We'll see you next week.